Introduction excerpt. Power is not luck. Power is not talent. Power is the result of a mind that refuses weakness, a spirit that rejects complacency, and a discipline that ordinary people cannot fathom. Most drift through life blind to the forces that control them, but a ruler studies these forces, understands them, and bends them to his will. This doctrine is not about being liked. It is not about comfort, peace, or approval. It is about understanding human nature, mastering yourself, and ascending above the masses who live without direction. It is about becoming the kind of individual who cannot be replaced, challenged, or ignored. If you are here, it means you feel that pull, the call to rise, to sharpen, to evolve. You are not here for entertainment. You are here to turn knowledge into power, discipline into identity, and presence into dominance. This is the path of the ruler. This is the doctrine they were never meant to hear. And if you can absorb what follows, you will not just change your life, you will change your future. Part 1. Human Nature and the Foundations of Power. Power is not granted. It is constructed by the one who refuses weakness and understands what drives human beings. Before you can rule anything, you must understand the creature you are ruling. People act from fear, desire, envy, insecurity, habit, and imitation. They are guided more by emotion than reason. This makes them predictable, and whatever is predictable can be controlled. Humans admire strength and exploit softness. They obey confidence more readily than competence. They follow whoever appears to be rising, even if that rise is an illusion. They respond more intensely to fear and desire than to logic or morality. A ruler does not expect nobility from people. A ruler uses human nature as a tool. Power rests on 3 foundations: strength, stability, and strategy. Strength is the ability to act without hesitation. It is emotional control, firm boundaries, the willingness to make hard decisions, and the ability to remove threats completely. A single display of strength is remembered longer than countless acts of kindness. Indecision destroys authority. Stability is the structure that keeps followers obedient and prevents disorder. You must reward loyalty, punish betrayal, maintain order, and shape the narrative around your presence. Punish once and decisively. Prolonged punishment creates resentment. Stability grows when your followers believe you are consistent, fair, and unshakable. Strategy is the hidden architecture behind power. Conceal your true intentions until your actions are irreversible. A silent mind cannot be opposed, and a hidden plan cannot be sabotaged. Speak less than you know, show less than you can do. Let your victories appear effortless, as if success comes naturally to you. People worship ease. Fear is more reliable than love. Love fades, shifts, and depends on circumstance. Fear is stable when used correctly. But fear must never turn into hatred. Hatred breeds rebellion. Inspire fear through strength and prevent hatred through fairness, purpose, and consistency. Punish threats, reward loyalty, and always act with clear intention. Allies are useful but dangerous. People are loyal when it benefits them. They betray when betrayal offers more. Choose allies who depend on your strength more than you depend on theirs. Empower followers who strengthen your rule, not those who challenge your position. Expect betrayal and eliminate it quickly. Reward loyalty visibly so others imitate it. This is the foundation of your rise. Understand human nature, build strength, maintain stability, cultivate strategy, inspire fear without hatred, choose allies wisely, and eliminate betrayal with precision. The ruler who masters these fundamentals becomes unshakable. Part 2. Expansion, Adaptation, and the Architecture of Control. Power must expand, or it begins to decay. Remaining in the same place invites challengers who sense hesitation. A ruler is either advancing or being overtaken. To preserve authority, you must always strengthen your position, extend your influence, and sharpen your strategy. Preparation is the difference between collapse and longevity. Machiavelli taught that peace is the moment to prepare for conflict. When the world is calm, most people grow comfortable and blind. The ruler becomes more alert. Train your mind, refine your abilities, and strengthen your defenses long before threats appear. A ruler who prepares in advance cannot be surprised. Adaptability is essential. The world changes, alliances shift, followers evolve, and circumstances turn. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Adaptation allows survival and dominance. Change your tactics when needed, but never your core principles. Strategy must move fluidly. Identity must remain firm. The ruler who adapts faster than the environment becomes untouchable. Appearances are a weapon. People judge based on what they see, not what is true. Appear disciplined, composed, and capable even when you're calculating privately. Appear virtuous even when you act strategically. Appear calm under pressure even when evaluating danger. Perception shapes loyalty more than fact. Control what people see, and you control what they believe. Control of information is another pillar. Speak less. Reveal only what strengthens you. Hide plans until they are executed. Limit the number of people who know your intentions. Information given is power surrendered. Information concealed is power stored. Use advisors, but maintain final judgment. Seek perspective, not dependency. Advisors can guide vision, but they must never steer decisions. Your authority must always remain centered in you. Order must be maintained at all times. Disorder grows quietly and destroys quickly. Address small problems before they evolve into rebellion. Remove threats before they form alliances. Establish clear expectations and enforce them consistently. People feel secure under order. They become dangerous under chaos. Timing is one of the ruler's greatest weapons. Strike when your opponent is unprepared. Retreat when the moment is not strategic. Act only when action guarantees advantage. Impatience is fatal. Hesitation is fatal. Precision is power. A ruler must also master public composure. When the environment becomes unstable, the ruler becomes the source of calm. If you show uncertainty, followers panic. If you show confidence, followers stabilize. You set the emotional tone of your domain. Finally, decisiveness is essential. People naturally gravitate toward a ruler who knows where he is going. Even in unclear situations, act with directed intention. Doubt in your mind is normal. Doubt in your actions is fatal. Clarity commands obedience. Hesitation invites rebellion. Power belongs to the one who prepares, adapts, controls appearance, protects information, maintains order, masters timing, and moves with precision. This is how a ruler expands without being challenged. Part 3. Fear, Authority, and the Management of Loyalty. Fear and respect form the core of true authority. Love is unstable, gratitude fades, affection shifts with circumstance. But fear, used with precision, creates psychological boundaries that followers do not cross. The ruler must understand fear not as cruelty, but as structure. Fear keeps order. Fear prevents rebellion. Fear clarifies loyalty. Yet fear must never become hatred. Hatred breeds conspiracy, resentment, and revenge. Hatred forms alliances between your enemies. The art is to inspire fear without provoking hatred. This is achieved through fairness, consistency, and controlled force. People fear what is firm, not what is reckless. People obey what is stable, not what is emotional. Punish betrayal completely. Betrayal tolerated becomes a signal that loyalty is optional. Betrayal punished becomes a warning that discipline is absolute. A single decisive act of correction is more effective than endless threats. But punishment must be swift and justified, never drawn out or emotional. People accept harshness when it is precise and purposeful. Reward loyalty with intention. Recognition is more powerful than generosity. People crave significance more than gifts. Reward those who strengthen your rule in a way that builds alignment, not entitlement. Rewarding everyone equally weakens authority. Rewarding selectively strengthens it. Understand that loyalty is conditional. People remain loyal when loyalty benefits them. They betray when betrayal seems safer or more rewarding. This is human nature. Accept it without bitterness. Shape their conditions so that loyalty is the most profitable path. Create systems where your presence ensures their stability and your absence threatens it. People protect what they depend on. Control who is close to you. Proximity is power. Those near you must be competent, loyal, and predictable. Remove anyone whose ambition threatens yours. Remove anyone who grows uncomfortable with your authority. A ruler's inner circle is not a place for comfort. It is a position of responsibility. Those closest to you hold the greatest potential for influence or danger. Keep followers occupied. Idleness breeds dissatisfaction, gossip, and rebellion. People with purpose are loyal. People without purpose search for conflict. Give your followers tasks, structure, and direction. Purpose binds them to your leadership. Manage envy carefully. Envy is one of the most dangerous forces around a ruler. People envy success, strength, and superiority. Keep your victories clear, but not arrogant. Keep your power visible, but not boastful. Show that your rise benefits those who follow you. Envy weakens when people believe your elevation elevates them as well. Avoid unnecessary generosity. Generosity builds expectation, and expectation turns into entitlement. Once people become accustomed to receiving, they resent the loss more than they value the gift. Be strategic with generosity, rare enough to matter, intentional enough to reinforce authority. People do not remain loyal out of love. They remain loyal out of structure, fear, purpose, and advantage. The ruler who understands this does not rely on emotion. He builds systems that make betrayal costly, loyalty rewarding, and rebellion unthinkable. A ruler must be respected, feared, and understood as necessary. When people believe their world functions because of you, they defend you instinctively. That is real authority. Part 4. Deception, silence, and strategic illusion. A ruler must master deception, not as petty trickery, but as a disciplined tool of survival and influence. People rarely show their true intentions, and you should never show yours. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to undermine. The less you reveal, the harder you are to control. Power grows in the shadows, not in constant exposure. Silence is one of your greatest weapons. When you speak rarely, every word gains weight. When you reveal little, people imagine much. Silence creates tension, mystery, and control. Most people expose themselves through excessive talking. A ruler strengthens himself through restraint. The less you say, the less others can use against you. Never reveal your long-term plans. People sabotage what they understand. Conceal your motives behind ordinary actions. Move quietly. Act without announcement. Let your results speak before your intentions are known. By the time others realize your direction, you should already be too far ahead for them to interfere. Use misdirection wisely. You do not need to lie. Simply allow others to believe what is convenient. Let your opponents underestimate you. Let them misjudge your priorities. Let them prepare for battles you never intended to fight. Misdirection exhausts your enemies while preserving your strength. Your image must be crafted intentionally. Appear virtuous even when you act strategically. Appear calm even when calculating. Appear humble even when rising. A ruler's image is armor. People judge by appearance, not truth. If they see discipline, they assume competence. If they see calm, they assume control. Your image becomes a weapon long before your actions do. Limit access to your mind. Not everyone deserves to know your thoughts or emotions. Distance creates respect. Scarcity creates value. The more available you are, the less authority you possess. People must feel that approaching you requires merit. Familiarity weakens mystique. Maintain a boundary that reinforces your position. Predictability is weakness. If people can anticipate your moves, they can counter them. Be flexible, adaptive, and occasionally unconventional. Confusion is a shield. Uncertainty is a deterrent. When people cannot predict your response, they hesitate to challenge you. Never argue publicly. Arguments erode authority. Silence is stronger than debate. Distance is stronger than explanations. When someone tries to provoke you, their desperation becomes visible if you remain composed. Public restraint radiates power more effectively than aggression. Use partial truth strategically. Full transparency is never necessary. Reveal what stabilizes your image. Hide what weakens your leverage. People accept the truths that comfort them and ignore the truths that challenge them. Give them enough to trust you, never enough to expose you. Let others speak first. When people talk, they expose their insecurities, plans, and weaknesses. When you stay silent, you gather information without risk. Knowledge gained without revealing yourself is pure advantage. Above all, maintain your unpredictability. The ruler who cannot be read becomes the ruler who cannot be manipulated. Mystery creates distance. Distance creates authority. Authority creates dominance. This is how a ruler uses silence, deception, and illusion not to harm, but to protect his power and maintain control. Part 5. Order, Structure, and the Elimination of Threats. Power collapses without order. A ruler must maintain structure in every environment he controls. Disorder grows quietly. Rebellion begins in whispers. By the time chaos is visible, it is often too late. The wise ruler prevents disorder long before it materializes. Set clear expectations. People must know what is allowed and what is forbidden. Ambiguity invites testing. Testing invites rebellion. When expectations are firm, followers feel secure. When consequences are consistent, followers remain disciplined. Order is not maintained through intensity, it is maintained through structure. Small problems become large problems when ignored. Address disruptions early, before they evolve into threats. A disloyal voice today becomes a conspiracy tomorrow. A small challenge today becomes insurrection tomorrow. Remove disorder while it is still soft enough to eliminate without resistance. Do not tolerate half-loyal followers. They are the first to betray when pressure arrives. A ruler must value clarity. Someone is either aligned or they are not. Those who hesitate today will betray tomorrow. Keep close only those whose commitment strengthens your authority. Your environment reflects your rule. If your surroundings are chaotic, your leadership appears weak. If your environment is orderly, your space, your routine, your systems, people naturally respect your discipline. The world takes cues from what it sees. Structure radiates power. Neutralize threats decisively. Do not drag out punishment. Prolonged discipline creates resentment and invites sympathy for the offender. Swift correction reinforces authority and prevents imitation. People respect a ruler who resolves problems immediately. Never allow threats to unite. Divide suspicious alliances before they take form. Distrust anyone who grows too close to other ambitious figures. People conspire when they believe they have equal power. Make it clear through action, not speech, that no one stands on your level. Maintain emotional control. A ruler who reacts impulsively can be manipulated. A calm ruler is unreadable and unshakable. Emotional restraint reinforces the perception that your power comes from inner strength, not external chaos. When confronted, respond with calculation, not heat. Emotional neutrality is dominance. Keep your followers occupied with purpose. People without purpose drift into conflict, gossip, and dissatisfaction. Purpose binds followers to your leadership and prevents rebellion. Provide structure, responsibility, and direction. Workers with a mission do not have time to conspire. Be cautious with forgiveness. Forgiveness can stabilize or destroy, depending on timing. Forgive only when forgiveness strengthens your rule. Never forgive publicly if it makes you appear weak. Forgiveness must be a tool of strategy, not sentiment. A ruler who forgives too quickly invites more disrespect. A ruler must also avoid unnecessary cruelty. Cruelty without reason creates revolt, but firmness with purpose creates order. Do what is required, no more, no less. Excess breeds fear without respect. Precision breeds fear with respect. Above all, protect your stability. Power resides in an environment where challenges are addressed early, boundaries are enforced consistently, followers understand expectations, and threats are eliminated without hesitation. A ruler who preserves order preserves his throne. Part 6. Momentum, Inevitability, and the Psychology of Rising. A ruler must understand the force of momentum. Power accelerates when you move with purpose. People trust what appears to be advancing. They doubt what stands still. Even small steps forward create the illusion and the reality of rising strength. Momentum is not noise, it is direction, discipline, and consistency applied over time. Perception of growth is as valuable as growth itself. When others see you improving, they align themselves with you automatically. Rivals hesitate, followers gain confidence. Momentum transforms effort into reputation. Every victory, every improvement, every demonstration of discipline expands your presence in the minds of others. The next principle is inevitability. People follow leaders who appear destined to win. When you carry yourself with quiet certainty, when your decisions reflect purpose, when your behavior remains consistent even under pressure, people begin to believe your success is not optional, it is inevitable. That belief becomes a form of psychological dominance. Inevitability is created through calmness, preparation, and unshakable rhythm. You do not rush, you do not panic, you do not move erratically. You advance as if the outcome has already been decided in your favor. This projection shapes how others treat you. Confidence radiates authority. Hesitation radiates weakness. Adaptation reinforces momentum. A ruler cannot remain rigid. When the environment changes, you must shift tactics instantly. Adaptation is not surrender, it is strategy. You bend without breaking. You adjust without losing direction. The ruler who adapts faster than others becomes unstoppable, because he never remains in a losing position long enough to be cornered. Mystique amplifies momentum. Your presence must be strong, but your inner workings must remain hidden. People must feel your movement, but never fully understand your pace. Mystery makes every action appear larger than it is. Unpredictability makes every advance appear intentional. When people cannot read you, they assume you are ahead. Do not reveal fatigue. A ruler may feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or uncertain in private, but never in public. The moment you reveal internal weakness, others question your direction. Maintain composure even when you are recalibrating. Speak little, move deliberately, hold your posture. When others cannot sense instability, they cannot exploit it. Momentum requires long-term discipline. Small, consistent actions outperform dramatic bursts of effort. Most people burn out because they rely on emotion instead of structure. A ruler moves from system, not mood. When effort becomes a habit rather than a strain, momentum becomes permanent. Challenge strengthens inevitability. Obstacles do not impede authority, they reveal it. How you respond when conditions turn against you tells followers everything they need to know. Panic destroys loyalty. Calm leadership during difficulty multiplies it. People believe in a ruler who remains the same, regardless of the storm. Never explain your rise. Explanation weakens mystique. Let people speculate. Let them wonder. Let them fill the gaps in your story with their own assumptions. Their imagination will exaggerate your discipline and overlook your flaws. Silence turns your ascent into legend. And finally, remember this. Once momentum forms, protect it fiercely. Momentum is the engine of power. Inevitability is its crown. Together, they make your rise feel natural, unstoppable, and unquestionable. A ruler who becomes inevitable becomes untouchable. Part 7. Identity, Discipline, and the Forging of the Self. Before a ruler can command others, he must command himself. Power begins with internal order. A chaotic mind cannot produce a structured world. A weak identity cannot project authority. Self-mastery is the foundation upon which all external influence rests. Identity must be chosen, not inherited. Most people become what environment shapes them into. A ruler defines himself intentionally. He decides who he is, what he values, what he represents, and how he carries himself. Identity is not discovered, it is built. Every action, every habit, every discipline becomes a brick in the architecture of the self. Discipline is the backbone of identity. Without discipline, ambition collapses. Discipline means doing what must be done, not what feels comfortable. It is emotional control, consistency, order, and the refusal to negotiate with weakness. People follow those who demonstrate mastery over themselves. They trust those who show stability in their behavior. A ruler must remove habits that weaken him. Excessive pleasure, distraction, emotional impulse, inconsistency. These erode authority from within. Replace them with habits that sharpen the mind. Reading, training, planning, reflection, strategy. Self-respect grows from self-discipline, and self-respect radiates outward as authority. Emotional resilience is essential. You cannot control the world, but you can control your response to it. A ruler must feel emotion without being ruled by it. Anger becomes clarity, fear becomes caution, sadness becomes focus. The ruler does not suppress emotion, he converts it into strength. Emotional alchemy separates leaders from followers. Solitude is a forge for identity. In silence, your thoughts sharpen. In isolation, your vision becomes clear. Those who fear solitude fear themselves. A ruler embraces it. Solitude is where strategy forms, where identity crystallizes, where the ruler becomes the architect of his own mind. Boundaries reinforce identity. Do not allow anyone to treat you beneath your standard. Do not allow disrespect to accumulate. Correct it instantly, calmly, confidently, decisively. Your tolerance teaches others how to treat you. A ruler's boundaries shape the respect around him. Your body must also reflect your mind. Posture, movement, stillness, and expression communicate more than speech. A controlled body mirrors a controlled mind. Physical discipline deepens mental discipline. People sense strength even before you speak. Your voice must carry intention. Speak with clarity and deliberation. Do not rush. Do not over-explain. Do not let your tone betray emotion. The ruler's voice is firm, grounded, and measured. A controlled voice commands attention instinctively. Self-sufficiency fortifies identity. The more capable you become, the less you rely on others. Dependence breeds vulnerability. Capability breeds authority. Learn skills that make you difficult to replace. Strengthen areas that others neglect. Build yourself into someone whose presence is always valuable. Above all, identity is formed through repetition. You become what you do repeatedly. Every decision reinforces or destroys your self-image. Choose actions that align with the ruler you intend to become. Over time, intention becomes instinct. Instinct becomes presence. Presence becomes power. A ruler who forges himself becomes impossible to break. The world cannot destabilize a man who has built himself with intention, discipline, and unshakable identity. Part 8. Isolation, Mystique, and the Power of Distance. A ruler must understand the value of distance. Power weakens when you become too accessible. Authority dissolves when familiarity grows without restraint. People respect what they cannot easily reach. Mystery enhances status. Distance creates hierarchy. A ruler must be present enough to be relevant, but distant enough to remain untouchable. Do not let everyone approach you. Access must be earned. When people must prove themselves to reach you, your presence becomes a privilege instead of an expectation. The masses follow structure. They recognize status instinctively. Your distance teaches them how to view you. Mystique is created through controlled exposure. Appear rarely, but powerfully. Let your presence carry weight. Speak less, observe more. The less you reveal, the more people imagine, and what they imagine is almost always greater than what you could reveal. Their assumptions elevate your image beyond reality. Unpredictability strengthens mystique. If people can read you, they can oppose you. If they cannot anticipate your moves, they hesitate. Hesitation protects your authority. Change your rhythm when needed. Reveal intentions selectively. Keep your true thoughts behind a disciplined expression. Mystery discourages rebellion. Isolation sharpens perception. When you withdraw from noise, you can study people with greater clarity. Distance allows you to see motives, patterns, and weaknesses without emotional interference. Solitude is not a retreat, it is reconnaissance. From a distance, you recognize the difference between loyal followers and hidden threats. Distance also strengthens emotional neutrality. When you are too involved, you absorb the emotions of others. When you maintain separation, you remain calm, rational, and strategic. A ruler must not be dragged into the chaos of followers. You must observe from above, not drown below. Your energy must be protected. Interacting excessively drains authority and invites familiarity. Familiarity breeds disrespect. People speak more freely when they feel too close. They question, gossip, and test boundaries. But when you create distance, your presence remains elevated. People speak carefully, act carefully, and think carefully around you. Use isolation to refine your identity. Alone, you can recalibrate your direction, strengthen your discipline, and craft your next moves without interference. Solitude is the crucible where the ruler evolves. Many collapse because they require constant company. A ruler must be his own anchor. But isolation must be strategic, not absolute. Appear when presence is necessary, withdraw when presence is wasted. Your movements must feel intentional. Presence becomes a signal, not a habit. When you enter a room after time away, your arrival shifts the atmosphere. That effect is lost when you appear constantly. Understand that people desire what feels scarce. When your presence is limited, it becomes valuable. When your attention is rare, it becomes respected. When your silence is normal, your words become powerful. Scarcity amplifies everything about you. Distance also protects you from manipulation. When people cannot read your emotions or predict your reactions, they cannot influence your behavior. Your distance becomes armor. A ruler who cannot be reached emotionally cannot be controlled. Use isolation to gather information, maintain power, sharpen your mind, and increase your value. Use mystique to elevate your presence beyond ordinary men. Use distance to create psychological height. A ruler who controls his presence controls perception. A ruler who controls perception controls power. Part 9. Information, Intellect, and the Art of Strategic Knowledge. Information is one of the ruler's most lethal weapons. Power belongs to the one who knows more, sees more, and understands more than anyone else in the room. Most people act blindly, reacting to events they barely understand. The ruler studies patterns, motives, and consequences long before others notice them. Knowledge is foresight. Foresight is control. Gather information quietly. Ask few questions, but observe everything. People reveal themselves through tone, posture, hesitation, confidence, and contradiction. Their behavior tells you more than their words. The wise ruler listens with his eyes as much as his ears. Never reveal the extent of your knowledge. A ruler who appears uninformed becomes underestimated. A ruler who appears all-knowing becomes feared. Balance both. Appear to know enough to command respect, but not enough for others to grow defensive. Conceal your intelligence behind simplicity. The most dangerous mind is the one no one detects. Study human behavior relentlessly. Ambition, insecurity, jealousy, loyalty, fear, these forces shape people more than logic ever will. When you understand what drives someone, you can predict their choices and influence their direction. You do not control people through force alone. You control them by guiding the emotional currents that define their decisions. Information is leverage. Use it carefully. Expose truth only when it strengthens your position. Silence truth when it destabilizes your plans. Reveal selectively. Every piece of information you share must have a purpose. never speak simply to speak. Intellectual discipline separates rulers from ordinary men. Read strategically. Study history, psychology, philosophy, warfare, economics, and leadership. You must understand how great empires rose and fell, how rulers maintained control, and how human nature has remained unchanged across centuries. Wisdom is pattern recognition across time. A ruler must also understand perception. Facts matter less than how facts are interpreted. If you control interpretation, you control reality. Shape narratives subtly. Guide opinions without appearing to guide them. Influence what people think without telling them what to think. People resist direct authority but follow invisible direction. Learn to remain calm under new information. When others panic, the ruler analyzes. When others react, the ruler calculates. Emotional neutrality protects your judgment and reinforces your authority. People trust leaders who remain composed while others fall apart. Be careful with advisors. Seek their knowledge, not their influence. Never become dependent on a single source of information. Diversify your insights so no one can manipulate your perception. Advisors must advise, not steer. You must always remain the final mind. Store your knowledge discreetly. Keep private journals, notes, and reflections that refine your strategy. Organize your thoughts so your mind remains a weapon, not a battlefield. Information unstructured becomes noise. Information structured becomes power. Your intelligence is a fortress. Never let others know its full size. Never let them see how deeply you think. Never allow them access to the core of your mind. When people cannot measure your intelligence, they assume it exceeds theirs. This assumption alone strengthens your authority. A ruler who understands information, studies behavior, and controls perception becomes impossible to outmaneuver. Knowledge gives you invisible influence, the most powerful kind. Part 10. Alliances, Dependency, and the Architecture of Influence. A ruler does not rise alone. Influence expands through alliances, but alliances are dangerous if approached blindly. People join you for their own benefit, not yours. Understanding this truth protects you from naive trust and positions you to shape alliances instead of being shaped by them. Choose allies who depend on your strength more than you depend on theirs. When people rely on you for direction, protection, or opportunity, their loyalty becomes pragmatic. They protect you because protecting you protects themselves. Dependence is stronger than affection and far more stable than gratitude. Empower people selectively. Empower those whose rise strengthens your influence. Empower those whose success reflects your leadership. Never empower someone who competes with your authority. A ruler must never create an equal. Shared power becomes divided power. Divided power becomes conflict. Keep your inner circle small and strategic. Proximity grants influence. Only those who support your stability deserve closeness. Distance everyone whose ambition rivals yours. Ambitious people can be useful allies at a distance, but dangerous friends up close. Loyalty must be tested, not assumed. Observe how people behave under pressure, temptation, conflict, and opportunity. True loyalty reveals itself when loyalty is inconvenient. Many appear loyal when conditions are easy. Only pressure exposes sincerity. Never rely on gratitude. Gratitude fades the moment circumstances change. People remember their discomfort longer than they remember your generosity. Never expect loyalty because you helped someone. Expect loyalty only when their future depends on your continued success. Divide potential rivals. Never allow powerful individuals to form alliances independent of you. People conspire when they believe they can share power. Keep allies separated through differing responsibilities, differing incentives, or subtle competition. A divided opposition cannot coordinate rebellion. Reward usefulness, not personality. The ruler must care more about function than feeling. Those who contribute to your power deserve elevation. Those who weaken your position deserve distance. Favor is a strategic resource. Distribute it with calculation, not emotion. Be cautious with equal partnerships. Equality breeds competition. One partner eventually wants more. If you must partner, ensure the structure keeps you indispensable through expertise, resources, authority, or knowledge only you possess. Maintain leverage even in cooperation. Use diplomacy before conflict. Diplomacy costs nothing and can win influence without bloodshed. But diplomacy must never appear desperate. Offer peace from a position of strength. If peace is rejected, remove the threat decisively. Mercy for the dangerous is a liability. Let others feel seen, but never let them feel central. People want recognition. Give enough to satisfy their pride, but never so much that they forget who leads. Subtle hierarchy preserves stability. Alliances are tools. Dependency is security. Influence is architecture. The ruler must arrange people like pieces on a board, each serving a function, each reinforcing the structure of power, none capable of destabilizing the throne. A ruler who masters alliances shapes the environment instead of being shaped by it. Part 11. Warfare, conflict, and the strategy of controlled force. Conflict is unavoidable. A ruler who fears conflict is destroyed by it. A ruler who understands conflict uses it as a tool. Power is not maintained through peace alone. It is maintained through the ability to confront threats immediately, intelligently, and without hesitation. The first rule of conflict: never allow it to escalate on its own. Problems grow when ignored. Rivals grow confident when unchallenged. A ruler must strike before a threat becomes large enough to damage stability. Action taken early is efficient. Action taken late is expensive. The second rule: fight only battles that strengthen your position. A ruler must not enter conflict for pride or emotion. Every confrontation must serve a purpose: to secure loyalty, eliminate a threat, display authority, or restore order. Waste no energy on symbolic struggles. Choose battles that yield strategic advantage. The third rule: use overwhelming force when necessary. A threat must not be injured, it must be neutralized. Half measures create revenge. Complete measures create stability. If you must correct rebellion, do it decisively. If you must remove a rival, remove them entirely, socially, politically, or symbolically. Leave no room for resurgence. The fourth rule: appear reluctant, but act without hesitation. People trust a ruler who uses force responsibly. When you appear measured and act only when required, followers view your strength as protection, not tyranny. This preserves authority while maintaining respect. The fifth rule: divide your enemies. Rival groups unite only when they share a common target. Create differences in their interests. Sow quiet distrust. Make them compete for influence. A divided opposition cannot coordinate, and without coordination, they cannot challenge you. The sixth rule: weaponize the environment. Use timing, terrain, information, and circumstance as tools. Let rivals exhaust themselves. Let them reveal their plans. Let them underestimate your preparation. Superior positioning destroys enemies before the conflict begins. The seventh rule: never show fear. People sense uncertainty like animals sense blood. Fear invites aggression. Calmness repels it. A ruler must maintain composure even when conflict approaches. When your confidence remains stable, followers stand firm and rivals hesitate. The eighth rule: control your emotions. Rage blinds, panic weakens, impulse destroys strategy. A ruler must act with purpose, not reaction. Emotional neutrality in conflict makes you unpredictable and difficult to manipulate. The one who controls himself controls the battlefield. The ninth rule: never humiliate a defeated enemy publicly unless necessary. Humiliation breeds vengeance. Remove threats quietly when possible. Public destruction should be reserved only for those whose downfall must serve as a warning. And finally, the 10th rule: create a reputation for decisive action. When people know you will act immediately against threat, they self-regulate. Fear of consequence is more efficient than consequence itself. A strong reputation prevents conflict before it begins. Conflict is not chaos. Conflict is clarity. Conflict reveals loyalty, exposes weakness, and solidifies authority. The ruler who masters controlled force becomes untouchable, not because he avoids battle, but because he shapes it. Part 12. Self-creation, evolution, and the internal throne. A ruler's greatest power does not come from armies, alliances, or influence. It comes from the throne within his own mind. All external authority collapses if the internal world is weak. Self-creation is the ruler's highest duty, because the world bends to the shape of the one who has mastered himself. Self-honesty is the first pillar. Most people lie to themselves out of fear or ego. A ruler must confront his flaws with ruthless clarity. Weakness ignored becomes weakness multiplied. Weakness acknowledged becomes weakness removed. See yourself as you are, not as you wish to be, and you gain control over your evolution. Self-discipline is the second pillar. Without discipline, ambition is fantasy. Discipline is structure, daily commitment, emotional restraint, and consistent action regardless of mood. A disciplined man becomes unstoppable because his progress does not depend on motivation, only intention. Intelligence is the third pillar. A ruler must study endlessly: strategy, psychology, history, power, economics, language, and human behavior. The mind sharpens through constant expansion. Knowledge turns chaos into patterns, and patterns into predictions. A ruler with foresight cannot be surprised. Emotional resilience is the fourth pillar. Life will test you. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will shift. But the ruler remains internally stable. Feel emotion fully, but never let it direct your actions. Convert emotion into fuel for greater clarity, not into impulse. Adaptability is the fifth pillar. The ruler must evolve continuously. Rigidity destroys leaders when environments change. Adaptation allows survival, growth, and dominance. You do not break, you bend and redirect force. Adaptable rulers remain relevant long after their rivals become obsolete. Mental protection is the sixth pillar. A ruler must guard his mind from negativity, distraction, and emotional parasites. Do not allow anyone to drain your focus or distort your clarity. Protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your position. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are armor. Solitude is the seventh pillar. Isolation is where self-transformation occurs. In silence, the ruler hears his own mind clearly. In solitude, he refines his identity, clarifies his purpose, and strengthens his inner world. Most people fear being alone because they fear meeting themselves. A ruler embraces solitude as a sanctuary. Voice and posture are the eighth pillar. The way you stand, move, speak, and hold yourself communicates your identity before words are heard. Calm posture projects control. Measured speech demonstrates clarity. Stillness radiates power. A ruler's presence begins with his body. Self-sufficiency is the ninth pillar. A ruler must become capable in many areas, reducing dependence on others. The more capable you are, the more independent your power becomes. Dependency is vulnerability. Capability is sovereignty. Self-respect is the 10th pillar. A ruler must tolerate nothing that weakens him, externally or internally. Enforce standards with yourself first. How you treat yourself teaches the world how to treat you. Self-creation is not a one-time act. It is lifelong construction. Every day you refine, sharpen, and evolve. When the internal throne is solid, no external force can shake you. A ruler who builds himself becomes unbreakable. Part 13. Momentum, Destiny, and the Architecture of Inevitability. A ruler must learn to weaponize momentum. Power grows when movement becomes continuous, disciplined, and purposeful. People believe in what moves. They distrust what stalls. Momentum makes your rise feel natural, even destined, and that perception is a silent form of dominance. Every small victory strengthens your narrative. Every disciplined action reinforces your identity. Momentum is not speed, it is direction. It is the quiet accumulation of consistent progress. Rivals hesitate to challenge someone who is visibly rising. Followers grow confident, loyal, and compliant. Momentum is psychological gravity. Destiny is the illusion that arises from sustained discipline. When you carry yourself with calm certainty, others interpret it as fate. They assume you know what they cannot see. They assume your rise is predetermined. This belief makes your presence heavier, your decisions more trusted, and your authority more respected. Act as though the outcome has already bent in your favor. Move with intention, not desperation. Speak with clarity, not noise. Make choices from a place of confidence, not fear. A ruler becomes destined when he behaves as if victory is aligned with him long before victory is visible. Transformation is part of momentum. You must evolve with every season. Do not cling to outdated strategies or past identities. The ruler adapts before circumstances force adaptation. You must be the one who changes first. Adaptation keeps your rise uninterrupted. Stagnation invites downfall. Timing amplifies inevitability. You must know when to advance, when to hold, when to retreat, and when to strike. Impatience weakens momentum. Hesitation kills it. Precision sustains it. If your timing is always correct, people believe you have insight beyond their understanding. They interpret your intuition as mastery. Mystery strengthens momentum. When people cannot predict your next move, they assume you have several. Uncertainty makes you appear larger than you are. People fill the unknown with imagination, and imagination exaggerates your strength. Stay unreadable. Move quietly. Keep the direction of your rise concealed. Do not display struggle. Even when you face challenge, remain calm. A ruler who appears rattled loses momentum instantly. Composure under pressure solidifies the narrative that you are guided by something deeper than circumstance. People follow rulers who do not flinch. Your presence must feel inevitable. This happens when your discipline is consistent, your image is controlled, your timing is precise, your adaptation is fluid, and your composure never cracks. Under these conditions, people begin to view your rise as unavoidable. The world respects what appears unstoppable. They obey what feels certain. They follow what seems destined. The ruler who becomes inevitable gains influence without effort, allegiance without demand, and power without resistance. A ruler who makes his rise feel guaranteed becomes impossible to challenge. Part 14. Influence, Symbols, and the Control of Perception. A ruler does not control people directly. He controls how people perceive him. Influence is not forced, it is engineered. Human beings respond to symbols, stories, emotions, and meaning far more than logic. If you control these elements, you control the collective mind. Symbols are powerful because they compress identity into something instantly recognizable. Your colors, your tone, your style, your silence, your posture, these become psychological markers. People associate symbols with strength or weakness, order or chaos, certainty or doubt. Choose symbols intentionally. Use them consistently. Over time, they create an aura around you that feels larger than any single action. Narrative is the next tool. People do not follow truth. They follow stories that make sense of their emotions. Craft a narrative that makes your rise feel justified, your authority feel natural, and your leadership feel necessary. A strong narrative stabilizes loyalty and suppresses resistance. It is easier for people to believe your story than to question their own. Emotion is the engine of influence. Logic informs, but emotion commands. Inspire ambition, purpose, or unity, and people align with you naturally. Inflict fear, uncertainty, or urgency, and people move without hesitation. Influence means knowing which emotion unlocks which behavior and applying it with precision. Selective revelation protects your power. You must decide what the world sees and what it never glimpses. Reveal triumphs to inspire confidence. Reveal small losses only when they strengthen your humanity. Hide anything that weakens your structure or exposes your vulnerabilities. A ruler's power lies in what remains unseen. Never rely on gratitude. Gratitude fades faster than fear, desire, or ambition. People forget what you've done the moment their circumstances change. Instead, ensure their stability depends on your continued presence. Dependency is stronger than gratitude. Security is stronger than affection. Anticipate betrayal before it forms. Watch for shifts in tone, energy, ambition, or alliance. Betrayal rarely arrives suddenly. It grows quietly in people who feel overlooked, undervalued, or emboldened. Identify it early. Neutralize it completely. A ruler must never be caught unaware. Forgiveness, when used strategically, can stabilize your rule. But forgiveness given too freely is interpreted as weakness. Forgive only when it strengthens your influence, not when it comforts your ego. Punish only when punishment protects your authority, not when it satisfies anger. Dependency shapes loyalty. People remain loyal when your presence improves their lives and your absence threatens their security. Create systems where you provide guidance, order, stability, or opportunity. The more you represent what they cannot find elsewhere, the deeper their loyalty becomes. Empower selectively. Some followers must feel elevated, others contained, others neutralized. Never empower someone who could stand beside you. Empower those who expand your reach, not those who could dilute it. Power transferred without strategy returns as conflict. Restraint is also influence. When you respond only when necessary, your actions carry weight. When you speak only with purpose, your words echo. When you withhold reaction, others question themselves. Restraint creates psychological distance, an invisible throne. Mystique elevates influence. People fear what they cannot define and admire what they cannot access. Let them know enough to trust you, never enough to predict you. Mystery is authority in its purest form. Influence is not an accessory to power, it is its foundation. Control perception, and reality follows. Part 15. Cycles, Resurgence, and the Long Game of Power. Power moves in cycles. A ruler who understands these cycles remains in control through rise, peak, decline, and renewal. Those who ignore the rhythm of power collapse when conditions shift. Those who master it become unshakable across decades. The first cycle is the rise. This is where hunger, discipline, and self-creation dominate. You build skills, sharpen identity, eliminate weakness, and establish structure. No one believes in you yet. That disbelief is fuel. The rise demands patience, sacrifice, and relentless movement. The second cycle is ascension. People begin to notice. Your presence grows heavier, your results more visible. Attention turns into influence. This stage requires calm confidence, neither arrogance nor humility, but strategic composure. Ascension is fragile. One mistake can stall momentum. Move precisely. The third cycle is dominance. Your authority becomes recognized. You are respected, feared, or both. This is the phase that destroys most rulers. Comfort appears, routine develops, enemies observe, complacency becomes poison. Dominance must be maintained with vigilance. Discipline sharpens, not softens, at the top. The fourth cycle is challenge. Rivals rise, circumstances shift, followers test boundaries, the weak panic, the ruler adapts. Challenge is not a threat, it is information. It reveals who is loyal, who is dangerous, and what must evolve. Handle this phase with cold clarity, and your authority strengthens. The fifth cycle is decline. Every throne is challenged eventually. Decline does not mean failure, it means recalibration. The ruler studies, restructures, learns, and prepares. Decline is only dangerous to those who cling to old identities. The wise ruler transforms and evolves. The sixth cycle is resurgence. When you adapt, reinvent, and discipline yourself anew, your rise becomes unstoppable once again. The second rise is stronger than the first because it is built on experience rather than hunger. Resurgence creates rulers who cannot be broken by circumstance. These cycles repeat throughout life: leadership, influence, and ambition. When you recognize which phase you're in, you gain control over it. When you ignore the cycle destroys you. Next is the importance of dependency. People must need you more than you need them. When followers depend on your structure, wisdom, or stability, their loyalty becomes anchored in survival, not emotion. Dependency is more enduring than love, gratitude, or fear. Ideological alignment fortifies power. A ruler must represent an idea larger than himself: discipline, clarity, strength, ambition. People defend ideas with more passion than individuals. If your identity is fused with an idea, your authority becomes symbolic. Symbols outlast threats. Intimidation, in its highest form, is not visible. True intimidation is calmness in chaos. It is decisiveness under pressure. It is silence when others expect reaction. Nothing unsettles the world more than a man who cannot be rattled. Initiative separates leaders from reactors. When you act before circumstances force action, you shape the battlefield. When you wait, the world dictates your direction. The ruler must create momentum, not chase it. And finally, solitude at the summit. The higher you rise, the fewer equals you will find. This is not a burden, it is confirmation of distinction. Power isolates because few can breathe at the altitude you ascend to. Accept this without complaint. You are not meant to be among the common. A ruler who understands cycles, commands dependency, embodies an idea, intimidates through composure, takes initiative, and embraces solitude becomes a timeless figure, one who rises again and again, regardless of era or opposition.
Part 16. Sovereignty, Inner Power, and the Shaping of Reality. A ruler's greatest throne is not external, it is internal. All external power is fragile if the inner world is unstable. Sovereignty begins within the mind, where discipline, identity, and clarity form the root of dominance. A ruler does not wait for reality to shape him. He shapes reality through the structure of his inner world. Identity must be crafted deliberately. Most people absorb identities from environment, culture, or circumstance. A ruler decides who he is. He constructs a persona that radiates certainty, direction, and purpose. Identity is not something you discover, it is something you forge. When your identity is intentional, your presence becomes unmovable. Vision is the next pillar. A ruler must know exactly what he intends to build. The mind cannot follow a blurry destination. Vision sharpens your decisions, selects your priorities, and filters distractions. Every action becomes a brick in the architecture of your future. Without vision, motion becomes noise. Mental sovereignty is essential. The world constantly attempts to invade your focus with fear, distraction, and insignificance. Reject this. You must guard your mind with the same intensity you guard your authority. Do not allow negative voices, weak influences, or emotional parasites into your inner world. Protect your focus. What you focus on becomes your life. Emotional transmutation is a ruler's silent mastery. Emotion is energy. Weak men let emotion guide them. Rulers convert emotion into clarity. Fear becomes caution. Anger becomes strategy. Sadness becomes discipline. Desire becomes momentum. You do not eliminate emotion, you weaponize it. Your environment must reflect your identity. Chaos around you becomes chaos within you. Order your space. Refine your routines. Surround yourself with structure that strengthens your clarity. A controlled environment reinforces a controlled mind. A ruler's space is an extension of his authority. Solitude is necessary. In silence, your mind resets. Your thoughts sharpen. Your direction becomes undeniable. Solitude is where weakness dissolves and identity is reforged. Weak men fear being alone because solitude reveals their deficiencies. A ruler embraces solitude because solitude reveals his potential. Energetic consistency is another pillar. Your presence must feel stable, calm, disciplined, deliberate. People follow energy more than words. If your energy is consistent, people organize themselves around you. If your energy fluctuates, people lose trust. Stability in your aura creates psychological gravity. Attention is the currency of power. What you give attention to grows. What you ignore dies. Direct your attention only toward actions that build your structure, strengthen your identity, or advance your vision. Do not exhaust attention on trivial matters or meaningless conflict. A ruler's attention must be selective and intentional. Generational thinking elevates your power beyond the present moment. Think beyond the day, beyond the year. Build habits, skills, and systems that compound over time. A ruler's decisions are not made for the moment, they are made for legacy. When you think in decades, you gain clarity others cannot fathom. Transcendence is the final pillar. It is the transformation from a person into a force. A ruler transcends ordinary limits, mental, emotional, and societal. He becomes someone who can adapt infinitely, grow endlessly, and rise continuously. Transcendence is the state where nothing external can break what is internal. The ruler who masters his inner world becomes immovable, unshakable, and sovereign. When the inner throne is solid, no external power can topple it.
Final conclusion: the ascent of the ruler. Power belongs to the one who shapes himself with intention, moves with discipline, and refuses to be weakened by the world around him. A ruler does not rise by chance. He rises because every action, every decision, every silence, and every sacrifice is aligned with his purpose. The doctrine is not theory. It is a blueprint for becoming untouchable. You understand now that human nature is predictable, that people follow strength, that loyalty is conditional, and that perception is more powerful than truth. You understand that information is leverage, that silence creates mystique, and that discipline forms the backbone of authority. You understand that alliances must be built carefully, threats must be eliminated completely, and momentum must be protected at all costs. You have learned that self-mastery is the root of all external control. A ruler must master emotion, identity, posture, voice, timing, and environment. He must protect his mind, refine his habits, evolve continuously, and remain calm under pressure. When the inner world is fortified, the outer world bends naturally in his favor. You understand the cycles of power: rise, ascension, dominance, challenge, decline, and resurgence. You now see that decline is not defeat. It is transformation. Resurgence is evolution. And evolution is what creates rulers who cannot be broken. Your presence must feel inevitable. Your rise must feel destined. Your silence must feel heavy. Your direction must feel deliberate. When people sense that your ascent cannot be stopped, they align themselves with you instinctively. That is psychological dominance, and it is the purest form of power. Remember this: the world submits to those who do not submit to themselves. The throne belongs to those who have conquered their inner chaos, disciplined their mind, sharpened their vision, and forged themselves into a force of nature. If you watched until the end, type "I rise" in the comments. Not as decoration, but as declaration. Proof that you do not merely listen to power, you become it.